Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. Matt, we have so many good showdown games already. I think we have more good showdown games this year than we had all of last year combined.
You might actually be right about that. But
Yeah,
we love degrees. I mean, I have love for all showdown slates. I don't care who plays.
I'm with you. Uh, we talked about it. I think both of us actually enjoy the bad games better sometimes. However, this game gets, I don't want to say greasy. It's not that it gets greasy, but it definitely has its question marks, right? When you consider that Raheem Mostert is out and, Devon Achane went through a walkthrough, but apparently someone posted a video. It was like, Achane's practicing today, and it was literally him just walking around the field. So that tells us nothing at all of what we're going to get out of him. You have Wright, who people love as a young rookie. Achane dealing with an ankle. Who the hell like you with ankles? Sometimes these guys miss certainly more than a week and it's a short week. They played on Sunday. So I actually think there are and you want to know what makes this kind of greasy? The fact that you really don't have much of an idea exactly how ironed out this Buffalo pass receiving core is.
It's definitely greasy. We get these sometimes early in the year. Buffalo might just be a little greasier than typical offenses throughout the year because they're rotating so much, and we'll see if it solidifies. They did this at times last year outside of Diggs. The Miami injury situation, definitely a little greasy. I think we're dealing with two worse defenses than what we talked about on Monday night, so that's not even as secure. But, these are the games we like to target for DFS. The uncertainty leads to opportunity for people that are willing to take some stands that are maybe against what the field is doing and against the own plays. So I'm in favor of this. I'm excited to dive into it with you.
Me too, man. Very much looking forward to it. Happy to have you guys with us. As always, if you don't mind, I humbly ask you, atone for your sins this morning, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, especially early in the football season. I've been thoroughly enjoying reading and responding to some of these comments. It's been good stuff. So hit us with a comment, hit us with a thumbs up, a like, subscribe. That stuff goes a long way in helping us get these videos out there, and we appreciate you guys for it. And if you want to listen in podcast form, maybe not on YouTube, you want to close your phone, you don't have YouTube Premium, Apple Podcast, Spotify, we're out there for all of it. You can find us wherever you're looking. All right. How about this? Josh Allen's last 5 games, including the playoffs against the Dolphins, Matt, this is pretty crazy. 400 passing yards, 304 passing yards, 352, 320, 359. He's 10-2 all time against the Dolphins straight up. He's 6-1 against Tua Tagovailoa. Of course, Tua got hurt in one of those games, but Josh Allen has, by all metrics, dominated the Dolphins. The only time he lost to Tua, I was just talking about this on the Odd Shopper channel. Check that video out, betting stuff for tonight and for every game of the week. Remember back in 2022 where it was just oppressively hot in Miami, and it was oppressively hot in Miami, and you had all of these guys just dropping like flies. Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember this, yes.
Yeah. Well, that happened. And Allen, you'll remember this. The Bills only scored 19 points, but Allen threw 63 times.
That is a very uncharacteristic outcome for him. Unless he had 3 picks, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, it was crazy. But let's start with Allen. There's no better place to start than here. I just think week in and week out, his rushing upside, and still, even with an overhauled offense, his passing upside is second to none. I love him today.
I love him too. The concerns heading into the year were basically, do we see the Joe Brady offense maybe play out the way we saw at the end of last year, where it was increased run rates? Josh Allen maybe not as involved, but when the run game kind of broke for them in week 1 a little bit, Josh Allen just put everything on his own shoulders, Superman, and they were willing to use him in the run game. So even if the pass rate is not as high as what we saw early last year, and it is similar to what we saw under Joe Brady in the latter half of the year. Allen's still going to get there because of his involvement in the run game. He's basically their goal line back. You know, Ray Davis played less than I personally expected. Ty Johnson's on the field at times, but neither him nor James Cook are very big backs. You would think that's like all Josh Allen. So when they need him, they're going to let him go Superman, let him do the crazy stuff. Sometimes it leads to wild turnovers. But I mean, it leads to immense DFS upside that really only the Lamar Jacksons, I guess Anthony Richardsons of the world can rival. Tua certainly cannot.
I love him. I really do. I mean, from a captain ownership perspective, I was actually a little bit. What do you think here? I thought the captain ownership would actually be closer between Hill and Josh Allen than it is. Right now, we have Hill in our top plays and single game showdown tools. Or sorry, it's a top stacks tool for showdown, essentially, right? It's giving you the captain ownership, the likelihood that they're the top overall play, that they're the optimal captain, optimal utility. It's super important tool for showdown, put it that way. I was a little bit surprised that we have Hill at 27% and Josh Allen at 17% captain, and Allen's cheaper.
I'm surprised by that too. We have Tyreek Hill projected just raw points ahead of him, which is wild to say. But at the end of the day, I don't have a strong disagreement with it, but I do have a disagreement with it. Tyreek Hill's still reliant on Tua to hand him the ball. I don't know, man. Like, Josh Allen has so many paths, so many paths. I think he's safer than Tyreek Hill. It's crazy to say that we have this projection over 2 points towards Tyreek Hill. But man, I don't know. Sometimes I try not to just outsmart myself with our projections. They're very good, but this is a bit surprising. I think some of this comes down to Miami's target share is just so concentrated between Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. They don't have anyone else who's competent on the offense other than Achane, who played like a ton of wide receiver in week 1, but he's hurt. So yeah, man, I don't know. Really struggling with these two at the top. The easy answer is probably just to play them both.
Yeah, I agree. Is Achane the wide receiver 3 now for Miami?
That's a reasonable question to ask.
Right?
They're so hurt at wide receiver. Like, what were they doing this offseason, relying on Odell Beckham, putting all their chips in like a rookie Malik Washington, and then just trotting out the same old Braxton Berrios types? Like, what were they doing?
I don't know.
Unless this was their plan. Maybe it was.
It could have been. But, you know, Devon Achane Berrios ran 18 routes and was targeted twice. Devon Achane ran 26 routes. To give you perspective here, Hill ran 36, Waddle ran 32, but Waddle did leave the game for a few plays, right? Because he got injured and came back. I look at this and I see Devon Achane as essentially the wide receiver 3, 7 targets. Not all of them were behind the line of scrimmage either. Yeah, I don't know. I think he actually might be. What was his ADOT? Let's see. What was his ADOT in week 1?
Well, I have his alignments pulled up. He played 22 snaps as a true halfback, 11 snaps out of the slot, 4 out wide out of 37 snaps. So out of 37 snaps offensively, he had a couple on special teams. He played 15 as an actual wide receiver.
Wow.
So not even just like, all right, he's a great pass catching running back. They were using him in wide receiver alignments as the wide receiver 3.
That's significant. His ADOT was -3. So yeah, a lot of them were behind the line of scrimmage, but I mean, how much faith do you have in a guy like Braxton Berrios?
0.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't get excited about that.
Okay, listen to this. So I know we're talking about all of this in relation to Tyreek Hill and why he is projecting ahead of Allen, but it's good context.
Sure.
Here are the guys that got snaps at wide receiver 3 outside of Achane's 15. Berrios at 26. Robbie Anderson, who now goes by Robbie Chosen at 12. He's still alive. Grant Dubose, who was cut by the Packers at the end of training camp, goes over to he's been in Miami for like 8 days. He played 13 snaps immediately upon arrival. What in the world? And then this team uses a ton of weird formations. They used Alec Ingold, a fullback, on 29 snaps. They had 12 personnel on the field a fair amount. That'll depend on how you qualify things with where Ingold lined up in the formation. He's kind of all over the place, but I mean, this team just doesn't have anybody that can flat out catch the ball outside of Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Jonnu Smith did not play well or play a lot.
I thought he was going to play a lot more than that, man. Only ran 17 routes. I thought they were going to use him as so to everything you just said, I'm thinking, all right, you have Braxton Berrios, you have this DeBose character, you have Robbie Chosen, who's just kind of floated around and been cut and brought back. I mean, he flamed out quicker than anybody, right? What came to my mind immediately when they brought Johnny Smith in was like, all right, well, Durham Smythe has never been a quality pass catcher. They had, Mike Gesicki was, they couldn't use him correctly. Maybe he just stinks, but okay. Jonnu Smith had a decent season in Atlanta alongside Kyle Pitts. Jonnu Smith will be kind of the de facto number 3 pass catching option. That was not the case last week. It was like you saw 10 combined targets for Achane and Mostert. And then you had 12 for Hill, 5 for Waddle. After that, what'd you have? 7 or 8 combined targets for everyone else in this offense?
Well, it didn't help John. He immediately dropped one of those targets.
Does not.
And Durham Smythe didn't even lead the team in snaps at tight end either. It was Julian Hill.
Yeah, I know.
So this is going to be a mess, man. Like, I don't know. Expect rotations at every position except Tyreek Hill, Waddle. I would expect Achane snaps to increase at this wide receiver 3 role, but the injury kind of confounds this. I'm not really sure.
And you take it a step further, you look at the Buffalo side of things. Look at those, you know how their motto this year is everyone eats. I mean, that's
their motto.
They've been using that. There couldn't be a worse motto for us trying to figure it out from a DFS perspective. Like when I hear a team say everyone eats, like, oh, fuck, like who wants that? But I will say this. What's that?
It doesn't make sense, but go ahead.
I'll say this much. First of all, I don't fully buy it. I think maybe everyone eats early on and until they figure out who's good. Keon Coleman in week 1 led all receivers in snaps, 73% snap share. He led all pass catchers, including Dalton Kincaid, in routes run per dropback, 90% routes run per Josh Allen dropbacks. And while he only had 5 targets, Josh Allen only threw 23 times. That's a team leading 23% target share for Coleman. Not to mention, he brought in, did you see his 28-yard catch down the sideline? It was gorgeous.
Yeah, that's his specialty. That's like exactly what he does well.
Right. But if you're Josh Allen and you have a little trepidation going to a rookie wide receiver and he makes a play like that, kind of turnaround back shoulder catch, that is a tough play to make, immediately garnering more trust from your quarterback. He had 2 red zone targets, one inside the 20, one inside the 10, and Josh Allen clearly looked his way. No one else had more than 3 targets in the game. So this is only 1 week and I don't want to overreact, but the Dolphins, despite only allowing 12 completions last week because Lawrence only threw 21 times, they allowed almost 14 yards per reception, the pass catchers, and 4 plays of 20 plus yards in the passing game. That's so that means what? A third of the completions went for 20 plus yards. Keon Coleman to me is very interesting today.
I 100% agree with all the pass catchers, really. I don't have faith in either defense. Miami did get absolutely blown up in the pass game. Jalen Ramsey did not have his best game. I don't know. I just think the personnel is pretty lacking.
Do you think Ramsey is on the decline?
He's old, yeah, for sure. They paid him a lot of money to not be on the decline, but it's just not how it works.
But I'm saying,
sometimes.
like, what do you think he is compared to his prime? Like 70% of that, 50% of that?
70 is probably a good number.
Yeah. So still good, but not a shutdown guy that you're just completely avoiding, basically.
For sure. Far from a shutdown guy.
Agreed. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not scared of what we see on the other side defensively either. Like Tre'Davious White's gone. He actually had a good game on his new team, but like Rasul Douglas. This secondary is pretty bad for the Bills too, and they do not have their stud linebacker Matt Milano, who's going to do a lot in the tight end and stuff. But yeah, to your point on the pass games, I think there's going to be openings for Coleman. I think there's going to be openings for just about everyone who can catch the ball.
I do too. But the usage from Coleman in week 1 as a rookie is actually pretty encouraging. Deep target, 2 red zone targets, team leading target share, most snaps, most routes run per drop back. Could that change any given week? I think it's possible. But the reason I set it up like that, Matt, is to say, if I'm looking at any of these pass catchers, I understand Khalil Shakir is in this offense, and I don't think he's going to go untargeted or overlooked. I also think, though, from a talent perspective and a ceiling perspective, not just tonight, but long-term, Coleman has the inside track over Khalil Shakir. And I think it's Coleman and Kincaid today. The only thing is, do you think there's a possibility that, the way Arizona tried to take Kincaid out of that game last time out, the way Kansas City clearly neutralized Mark Andrews in week 1, do you think Miami just says something similar? Like, all right, let's just try to limit Kincaid as much as possible and let these other, creative player receivers, and like Mac Hollins was getting opportunities. How do you think the Dolphins play this is my question.
I think that's probably the best way to approach this.
Me too.
And then spy Josh Allen so he can't just run all over the field on you. They're definitely devoid of talent at pass catcher. And I think it's probably going to be a lot of Mac Hollins again. Curtis Samuel had like 9 snaps in the entire game, or 9 routes, excuse me. But he's coming off the injuries, so maybe he plays more. But I mean, when you're dealing with rookies, 2 tight end sets, Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins as primary pass catchers, it should give you a little confidence in trying to dedicate some extra resources to Dalton Kincaid, and Keon Coleman's a rookie. We'll see how they play it. Josh Allen is still an alien, so they're probably going to really just try to limit him and stop him, spy him, but we'll see what happens with this team. Kincaid, for his price, I still think you would bet he leads the team in targets, which makes him appetizing to me, but I mean, Coleman at 5,800, if he continues seeing that kind of workload, I think is a good pivot.
See, I like the Bills secondary.
Really? Who do you like in the secondary?
I like Sean McDermott.
He's not suiting up tonight.
I understand that, but I think every time he's just managed to coach up this secondary to the point where they're still good.
That we can agree on.
Like, I don't know. I feel like there might not be the same household names in Buffalo. And they lost several key players, right? But I don't just think they're going to be bad. That's kind of the way I don't think they're just going to be bad. Against Kyler Murray, who actually has pass catching options now. They allowed 5.2 yards per attempt, 162 yards passing. This offense with Tua and Hill and Waddle is clearly more polished. And when they get firing on all cylinders, it's a problem. So it's not like I'm avoiding pass catchers for Miami. That would be crazy. I just think I have a little bit more respect for the coaching in Buffalo, to where I don't know. I have a lot more reservations about Buffalo's run defense than I do about their pass defense. I'll put it to you that way.
I don't have any real strong pushback on that. I think those Sean McDermott defenses were dealing with more talent. So it's kind of like a chicken or an egg situation. You can only do so much Damar Hamlin's projected to start. It's a disaster.
Yeah, that's not good.
The real big issue for me with the run defense was Milano. I actually kind of like their defense on the defensive line. Von Miller had a great game, surprisingly. Epinesa and Rousseau are both highly drafted. Ed Oliver's on the inside. There's a lot of talent. I don't think it's been maximized quite yet, largely just because these players, a lot of them have been injured, but I kind of disagree a little bit. I think the secondary is putrid.
Okay. All right. Perfect. That's good. Big Kappa said you can't use last game. Kyler Murray's not even a real quarterback.
Kyler's good, man. I don't care what anyone says.
I think he is too. What?
Oh, his camera's shaking.
Turn your camera on. Turn your camera on.
His camera is actually shaking.
Is
There's
this
a producer, Jordan Klein.
is this still yeah. Is this it's over?
Yeah.
Tremors? Tremors? Aftershock? Yeah, Tremors, good movie. You're okay, you're okay. You look scared. Did you not turn your camera on? Ah, why not?
You
If
would have
something
seen
wild happened, we need to catch that.
the beautiful whites of his eyes showing.
Yeah, he was nervous. Um,
That's got to be wild, man. I live in Wisconsin. We just get the snow.
dude, I'm in Pennsylvania. I was recording a video this summer. Did you see that video? I was recording a video this summer and an earthquake hit when I was down here, and I'm like, what the hell was that? I thought it was like the washing machine was unbalanced and was shaking the whole house. Went through an earthquake live on video,
That
and
is
I
wild.
posted. Yeah, I'm not used to that, but there is a fault line around here. Yeah. Jordan, are you good? He's dead. Okay, there he is. There he is. Make sure. So when you did that, like when you said I'm going through an earthquake, could the chat hear you? You gotta be worried about work first, brother.
Yeah.
If that happens, Mike goes straight to everybody so everyone knows what's going on.
No, I got it next time. Next time there's a big
All right.
earthquake, I got you guys, 100%.
I need a promise from you because that's good. That's good entertainment. I want you to be okay. I promise. I want you to be okay. But if you're going through an earthquake, it needs to be well documented on the Showdown Strategy Show.
Without question, I got you next time.
Okay. All right. So anyway, then Matt, you have zero concerns about any pass catchers for Miami today.
Yeah, and it's not even matchup related for them. It's just,
Yeah.
well, I have concerns about every pass catcher not named Tyreek Hill or Waddle. And it's, are they an NFL player? But the target distribution between Waddle and Tyreek is so good that you should probably just be clicking both of them. And that's backed up by our tools. That's my intuition, and I'm still shocked to see Tyreek project ahead of Josh Allen. But man, I like reasoning through this. You can really see how bad the pass catchers are around Tyreek and Waddle.
Very true. Tyreek's just such a freak that it wouldn't surprise. It doesn't surprise me that he's the guy that would project ahead of Josh Allen.
He's the best receiver in football, man.
I agree. I said this last year as well before the seasons because he was my highest owned player in best ball. I just was getting every up because early in you were getting him like eighth. How is that even possible? And then he moved up slowly, but Tyreek Hill is just the biggest steal. Now this year it was like third or fourth, but I agree. But just best game wrecker in football for sure from an offensive perspective. Like no one can just ice a game or put it out of reach as quick as Tyreek Hill, no matter how good some of these guys are. But I will say, I think the projection on top overall play, I still think it's closer between him and Allen. Like Allen is, as you mentioned, he's an alien. He's an absolute freak.
We're in agreement there. This will change throughout the day, of course. If the slate started right now, my own personal way to approach the slate would be to go in our tools and boost Allen individually, whether it's with the ROI or you could do that on the projection side if you wanted to. And then probably bring Tyreek Hill down a little bit. And more than anything, it's just like a risk management thing. Allen can absolutely bear you, but one thing we can agree on is that I think they should be the top two plays in the slate very clearly.
Yeah, I guess the question at this point is, does it even matter? Because you're going to get a lot of Allen regardless.
It does matter. When I was building lineups, if you want to captain one, it matters. You could play them both in the flex and then things get easier. But the second you go like Tyreek captain, Allen flex, you're probably going to be digging around the 3K range or cheaper for something.
Yeah, for sure. What I meant is that, I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is that if you're trying to get both of these guys, you're going to have to make real sacrifices elsewhere. Yeah.
For sure. There's players that are going to see the field a lot tonight from that range, but it's very dicey. There's like Matt Collins, Jalen Wright, Ty Johnson, Jeff Wilson, Dawson Knox, Jonnu Smith. MVS is projected to play a decent amount, not a lot, but I mean, I don't know. You're gonna play you're gonna spin the roulette wheel on the 2K range and see what happens when you play Tyreek or Josh Allen and the captain.
Pretty much. And you'll be spinning the roulette wheel on all of these pass catchers not named Hill and Waddle too. So that's a question I want to ask you. Sammy Telesco, member for 21 months, says, let's go. I know he's a Buffalo War Pigs. That's a Buffalo fan for sure. Fidel Delgado said, Lavi, you see that stat that Tyreek Hill has never gone over his receiving yards against the Bills defense? No, I haven't. Pretty crazy though. They are different now, but that's wild. Sammy said, HN for me at captain. If HN's good to go and not limited, I have no problems with that at all. Without Raheem Mostert, I would absolutely love him at captain. Zero issues whatsoever. But I mean,
a big trend we usually see is people under-own the players that are hurt.
Definitely. But it's not like HN's cheap either. You know, he's still expensive. He's still the third most expensive player between Hill and Josh Allen. He's more expensive than Tua, as he should be. I'd probably argue that Tua is a little bit overpriced. But no, Hill, Allen, and HN are, if he plays, are clear options. And then we haven't talked about him. We're going to build lineups too. And I want to talk about James Cook. But I'm going to ask you a question that you probably knew was coming and you'll hate me for it because it's not easy to answer. If you had to prioritize pass catchers from Buffalo and Miami, how do you do it?
Do you want to skip over the studs?
Oh, no. Yeah, of course. I'm talking about
the dust.
Yes,
where are we? Okay. Where do you want to start this conversation?
Let's start in Buffalo.
All right. I think price adjusted, I would prefer Keon Coleman to Kincaid.
Me too.
And it's a slate sort of outlook thing. You just can't play Kincaid at 7-2 today when you can take a slight jump and get up to the Miami guys. Your roster doesn't work. So let's say you want to play some combination of either quarterback, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and HN. You want to play three of those guys. You can't play Kincaid unless you're just punting at a $200 player. So right away, I think your rosters look really bad if you have someone like Kincaid in there because you're probably foregoing a stud or you're just punting someone who's complete dust. Not to mention Kincaid's role is not what we expected it to be. 25 routes, less than Keon Coleman.
I know.
It's not bad, but it's definitely not good. So, I mean, just by going down in price at Keon Coleman, you open yourself up to a roster construction that allows you legitimately good players like slate-breaking, NFL difference-making players. Kincaid's not that, and he doesn't allow you to get any of that. Aside from those players, I think I would go Khalil Shakir next, followed by Matt Collins, followed by Knox, followed by Curtis Samuel, followed by MVS if you're getting really dusty.
That is the exact order I have them in as well. And the only reason I have Knox ahead of Samuel is because I think there's still some semblance of touchdown equity there.
I think Samuel's still banged up, man. 9 routes on the turf toe.
Big time. I think so. After last week, no doubt. 23. I think he played like 23% of snaps. Not good. And then for Miami.
Good luck deciphering this. I think a lot will hinge on HN's availability. Outside of him, I guess I'm going to rank Braxton Berrios 1, Jonnu 2, Durham Smythe 3. I mean, like, we're really reaching. Julian Hill 4, DeBose 5, Chosen 6.
You know what I was thinking that I actually kind of like?
Robbie Chosen.
No. What if I did? Like, how would you react if I just came onto one of these shows and did everything I could to convince you that like Robbie Chosen is the best play today, right? And just you would be obligated to call me a moron. You couldn't even try to be tactful, right?
I would just say I disagree.
Yeah. But in your head, what about the idea? This is where it gets kind of fun. With Raheem Mostert out, yes, we saw Jeff Wilson get some opportunities last week. 5 carries. I don't anticipate him being used in the passing game much. You and I just kind of talked a lot all show about how behind Hill, Waddle, and HN, they don't have anybody. Johnny Smith was scarcely used. Braxton, Berrios, DeBose, Robbie Chosen, those guys are nothing. What do you think about the idea of having lineups that have both Devon Achane and Jalen Wright in them? I wouldn't be shocked if they use Jalen Wright in some gimmicky ways. Let's not forget, as a rookie last year, Achane was used not a ton, but in like good spots and was super efficient early on. Mike McDaniel's offense caters to this type of thing. Even if Jalen Wright is of limited use, if he sees the field at 2,000, I'm super interested there.
Jeff Wilson's only 2,400 too. I don't know what the split is between these two, and I don't really care. The offense is explosive enough where I'm willing to gamble on both these backs.
Same.
And play them with Devon Achane, no problem. I think you could even make some lineups where you have all three. I expect all three of them to see the field tonight. And that's not because I think it's going to be like a split 3-way backfield right down the middle, but Jeff Wilson and Jalen Wright are so cheap. They're the avenues that get you to Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, the studs on the slate. So if, like Jeff Wilson has 2 points or something, and everyone else in this price range has like 1 to 3 points, that doesn't really matter. He's the one that gets you the absolute difference makers on the slate. So I have no problem with either one. And I would say their roles and their upside is better than any of the Miami receivers down here almost without question.
Yeah. I would.
The only thing is Julian Hill 600, and he played a ton.
He did. God, that's gross. That's so gross. At least with Jalen Wright, he's a guy that can catch passes. Like he has breakaway speed. I don't know. Jeff Wilson is a guy, but I'm always a sucker for the unknown, Matt. Like I'm a sucker for the Jeff Wilson could give me 2 and maybe fall into the end zone, but it's unlikely. Whereas what if Jalen Wright ends up being somebody where they decide to actually use him today, even if he only gets 5 touches, those 5 touches could be impactful.
I agree with you. No issues whatsoever with Jalen Wright. And I agree with everything you said. Dynamic athlete, caught passes in college. I mean, they spent a 4th round pick on him. I have no issues with that reasoning. The only thing is there's just uncertainty, but sometimes that helps you. If we knew Jalen Wright was going to get the HN usage, you'd be extremely owned.
Absolutely. And hey, Devon Achane was a 3rd round pick last year. So, they might just be able to unearth those guys. We haven't talked about James Cook yet. He saw a good amount of work last time out. Ray Davis wasn't really used all that much. Cook played 61% of snaps. Ray Davis played 10. I had a feeling this would be the case. I mentioned it on a video last week that Ty Johnson could actually get work. Ty Johnson was essentially the number 2 in this offense last week. Played 23% of snaps. He had, 2 carries and 1 target. Meanwhile, the rookie Ray Davis, it's not like they were using him. He had 3 and 1. So I guess you could say Ray Davis on less snaps actually got more touches, but only 1 more touch. So I don't know if there's a clear difference maker there between Johnson and Davis.
I don't think there is. And I would be worried if you like Ty Johnson for whatever reason that Ray Davis sees more and more work throughout the season, but I don't think that's all going to come upon him in the 2nd week of the year. If anything, it'll probably be a gradual increase. But those two splitting the backup job is not good. And James Cook, workload for him is pretty good. 19 carries in week 1, still caught 3 balls. It's going to be largely his backfield. And I think that makes him interesting on today's slate. He's going to go a little overlooked compared to the other studs, which, I think makes sense when you're competing with Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, and HN, assuming he's good enough to go. But he's not even 50% owned combined between the captain and the flex, according to our tools. That's quite a bit of potential leverage for a team that wants to run the ball and a player who just had 22 touches. So I'm very interested in James Cook. Our tools like him right now, and I think that's largely just the product of so much ownership is coming to those other studs.
For sure. Einsteinian, what's up, brother? Said Thursday games tend to be very vanilla as far as game plans go on top of being a divisional spot. Could we see what Matt likes to call a greasy game tonight? Maybe last year the unders were hitting left and right in these Thursday games. And then you got further into the season and then overs just started hitting like crazy. So I don't know. That was a weird trend. It was a weird spot. It's still two great offenses. I'm not sure. I just, here's my problem, Matt. I don't know how to quantify something like that. So I just play this as if it's a normal football game.
I'll tell you what, if there was some trend like that that actually worked, Vegas would be all over it and the total would reflect it. Go with the total in the game that is the most likely amount of points to be scored.
It's a good point. Right. What's the total right now? What's it sitting at?
It was at what, 47.5, something like that?
Yeah, 48.5 now.
48. I gave it to Jordan Klein before the show and forgot the exact number.
Yeah, 48.5, 49.5 on FanDuel. So it's
and that's about
up.
as healthy as it gets in the NFL.
Yeah. So what? 49, we're talking a 50-point total in this game. I think that would be the second highest total of any game this week outside of Detroit, Tampa.
Sounds like a pretty sick game. Can't wait to not watch it.
All right. We talk Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. Where do you rank a guy like James Cook? Because I am a fan of James Cook. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. That's kind of how I look at James Cook. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I hate that Josh Allen, two rushing touchdowns again last week. Do they start using Ray Davis at the goal line? Sure. I have so many question marks, even though I do believe this is a pretty opportunistic spot for James Cook. The problem I run into, Matt, is that Waddle's 8,600, just using DraftKings pricing for now. Waddle's 8,600. Achan's 9,600. Two is 94. It just kind of feels like a no man's land for James Cook at that price point.
He definitely has a ton of players around him. So you'll be giving up something by playing James Cook. He needs to be low owned. And right now coming in like around 45% between flex and captains, enough for me to take some shots.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran the tool earlier, it was pretty neutral on James Cook. I got negative 2.2% in my first run. I think that would change a little bit now, but of course you're gonna have to monitor this through the day. But I agree with you. I think I like James Cook a little more than you, not really based on talent, but that role he has right now, competing with basically a practice squad guy in Ty Johnson and a rookie in Ray Davis. The real concern with him is just Josh Allen launching himself at the goal line every single play, which is a legitimate concern. But at the same time, if he's going to be under owned, I'm going to take some shots.
You mentioned that, and the more I look, don't get me wrong, I'm not fully backtracking because I always have reservations about Josh Allen just taking the ball in. But shockingly, we have a running back with positive leverage, and that's actually James Cook. Usually running backs that are high priced on showdown slates and our tools are typically negatively leveraged. So there's that. Also, in week one, there were 10 rushing attempts in the red zone. Ray Davis and Johnson had one, but they were both inside the 20. I don't even really care about red zone, like inside the 20. Let's talk about inside the 10, inside the 5 at the goal line. Cook had 2 inside the 10. Allen had 2 inside the 10. And James Cook had the only goal line carry inside the 5. So that's encouraging enough for me, Matt. I can get behind that.
And you don't have to take a huge stand today. It's not a normal Buffalo slate where James Cook's going to be like 60% owned tonight. Right now, he's looking at like 45 to 50, maybe lower. We'll see. So I think he's a pretty good play. I like him. I think I like him more than, I don't know. This is tough. What do you think between him and Waddle? If you were to pick one guy.
It's so funny you say that because if Achan is good to go, to me, it's Achan over James Cook by a pretty wide margin. Okay.
I agree.
James Cook and Waddle. It's for me, we're talking razor thin margins here. Because Waddle is the type of guy that doesn't need as much volume to produce. And if the Bills look to slow down Tyreek Hill, Waddle is clearly a primary beneficiary here. But it goes back to what you initially said. The volume for James Cook could just be so big that I can ignore everything else. I think I'd actually give a slight nod to James Cook here, but I like them both. And in non-Hill lineups, having Waddle plus, HN and Cook is actually doable. As difficult as it is actually somewhat doable.
I agree with you. I think that's what I would exact same ranking as of right now.
We got a super chat, Matt, from Chris Williams, the Apple guy, who's always gifting subs in here. Super generous guy, great supporter of the show. Chris said, "Will say I have been loving the single lineup tool as I only play Showdown for NFL, and it paid for itself and the Sims quickly. Atone, bring yourself some good karma." Hell yeah, man. I love to hear that. The single lineup sim, we're going to use it right now, has been I'm getting DMs about it every day that people are absolutely loving it. And we've had the 5K, the 10K, the 20K wins rolling in using this tool. It's awesome because while we have the pre-contest sim and the contest generator, which is, I'd say slightly more advanced, not as far as using it goes, but there's so many levers you can pull, and it's an incredible tool. If you're maxing, like you want this, even if you're playing, higher stake stuff and you want the best lineups, simmed out, getting the highest simmed ROI, this is where you should be looking for sure. But also, it comes with the single lineup sim as well, which is a hand builder's dream, wet dream, one might say, because you're getting instant, I don't know why I said that, because you're getting instant feedback on every single lineup that you build. So we're going to build one right now. You build a lineup, and then it sims it across the field. It's essentially manufacturing the field that you're going to play against, and you can choose by contest size and payout, and it's telling you, after it's simmed tens of thousands of times, how well that lineup did. So you can hand build, but now you can get with the times in 2024, which is competitive in DFS, and build these out and get instant feedback on every lineup. So if you guys wanted to check it out, links in the description and in the chat. If you just click more and expand it, whether you're on your phone or you're on mobile, you'll see there's the max monthly, core monthly. Check out all of those packages. You're going to love them, man. You're absolutely going to love them, even if you just want to check it out for a week. It also includes our ownership, the Showdown Top Stacks tool, single game plays tool, Top Stacks for main slate, player projections, Boom or Bust tool, premium Discord, which definitely jump in. Greg's been doing office hours in there. Steve Buzzard, great community. The lineup generator. I could go on for days. Check it out for yourself. You're going to absolutely love these tools, and they're going to help you a ton. I think once you start using the single lineup sim, you're probably just going to be, the only problem you're going to have is explaining to your wife and family what you've been doing for so long on your computer. That's it. Let's build a lineup, dude. Let's build a lineup out. Let's showcase it right now.
All right, let's do it. Are you first or am I? I forget.
Well, actually, let's go brain trust here, because we talked about Allen, we talked about Hill. Do we want to go Hill captain, or do we want to try Josh Allen at captain? Or someone else, Devon Achane or someone else?
I prefer Allen at captain. I don't think our tools are going to perform.
That's what I'm wondering too. And I think we're going to have some updates throughout the day. I do. I think we're going to see some updates here. Wouldn't be surprised to see Allen get a little bit closer.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see that either.
Let's see what the optimal captain and leverage spots look like. Waddle looks, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you see any positive leverage at captain? That's what I was going to ask you.
For who specifically?
For anybody. I'm sorry, do we see any good positively leveraged guys at the captain spot?
I got a lot of Tyreek. It's like a ton of Tyreek.
Let's try the build. Let's try the Tyreek at captain.
Okay.
He's so expensive.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you'd expect. But right now, if everything started today, he's still a good play considering the ownership at captain even.
Absolutely. Why don't we just see what it looks like with a Tyreek Hill and Josh Allen build, Allen in the flex, in the utility?
I think most of your lineup should do this.
All right. That allows us 5,400 per player remaining. Matt, I want to throw in Keon Coleman here, and I'm sure you're perfectly fine with that.
I am perfectly fine with that. One thing quick, once you get this start, I think most people are going to try to do 2 more studs and then punt twice. So
Okay.
by going to Coleman, I think you might be shaving off a lot of ownership just with this kind of build, because now you can't do the like double stud, double punt build that I think ultimately, I think a lot of lineups look like 4 studs, 2 complete punts, and this will change things for us here. All right, so
I like that.
after that monologue, man, this is really hard. I'm going to say Jalen Waddle. We'll see what we can make.
Okay. So for what it's worth, at this point, we're basically boxed out of Achane. We're boxed out of James Cook, right? Like we're not getting to those guys. Because we don't have Achane, I gotta go with Jalen Wright here.
I love Jalen Wright. I have no problem with that. It's really hard to build today.
Very tough. 5,200 now.
Tyler Bass.
Okay. And by the way, guys, this is just also giving us an idea of what we can build and what these builds look like. So I think before we go, let's try a -30 ROI. Wow.
We messed up.
Woo.
All right, well, we can't send the people off with this.
No. All right, where do you want to go?
Don't play this lineup.
Do not play this lineup. Where do you want to start at captain?
I don't think we did anything wrong in captain. I think the worst choice was probably me picking Waddle.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. We also have Jeff Wilson projected ahead of Jalen Wright.
I know.
And that doesn't, like just the raw projection there. It's very tough to capture Jalen Wright's range of outcomes. Like our simulation tool does a great job, but Jalen Wright has not played in the game yet. So if anything is incorrect, it's going to be Jalen Wright's range of outcomes.
I also think we had Hill and Waddle without Tua, which probably doesn't help.
I don't really have a strong problem with that. You can't play all the studs. Like we would have to get rid of Josh Allen if we wanted to play Tua like that.
How much different would it look if we went Tua, Allen, and Achane? I'm sorry, Hill, Allen, and Achane.
Not much.
Probably not, right?
We would just have to change our kicker.
I'm saying how much different would the ROI look? And I don't think it's going to look. I don't think it's going to look great. I don't. I think it could be a problem. All right, let's do one more before we go.
Okay.
Why don't we see what happens if we go with a cheaper captain?
All right, I'm in.
A little bit of, let me cheat for 1 second. So I ran the actual sims, and our captain exposure on 150 lineups is a lot of Hill, a lot of Tua, 15% Kincaid, 7% Coleman, 6% Waddle. At flex, 65% Allen. So clearly the tools love Allen at flex, don't love him as much at captain, which is kind of what you spoke of earlier. A lot of Tua at flex, Tyreek, Kincaid, Cook. All right. Judging off of this, I think if we made a Kincaid captain lineup, we could make it look pretty good. You're muted. You're muted.
There are some people in the chat asking for that too.
Let's try it.
All right, Kincaid captain. We can you want to just go immediately Tyreek and Josh Allen in that case?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's the only reason we're doing it.
Yeah, so throw in the 3 squares. We still have 6K left. It's pretty nice.
That's not bad. All right.
What player?
Let's see here. We'll go Kincaid, Hill, Allen. Let's go. I think, you know what I think is also happening is that we are not, I think we may be baking in this Achane injury with his projection right now.
We certainly are. We have a lot of positive leverage to like Jeff Wilson.
Yeah. We have to be. So let's go. Do you think Cook works in a spot like this
James Cook?
with Allen and Kincaid?
Yeah.
3,800 remaining.
Play Jeff Wilson.
I knew it. All right. 52 gives us Tyler Bass or Jason Sanders. I'm going to go Sanders here because we already have Kincaid, Allen, and Cook.
Sounds good. No problem with that.
We're leaving 800 on the table. And again, guys, you have this tool, play around with it, right? Like figure out what's looking, okay, so we're at 18% ROI, at least on my run. It'll be a little different on Jordan's. That was higher. Maybe I might have actually messed it up and put the wrong player in. But, oh no, you know what, Jordan? Did you do large or small contest? That's why I did small. Okay, so for large contest, this looks a lot better. And what did you do to first? 25? Okay, got it. So always make sure to adjust that. If you're playing in smaller contests, make sure you know what your payout is up top. Like there's actually some large field single entries, but only 10% to first. Make sure you're checking those off and figuring that out ahead of time, because it can definitely, as you just saw right there, it can make a big difference. All right, Matt. Well, it's tough to build lineups today.
Very tough. Last thing on it. Achane's prop was at like 53 yards when it opened. It hasn't moved yet, but I'm guessing we're probably projecting it around there.
Where does he have props? I was looking earlier.
No, those were open. Those were when it opened.
Okay, you're saying they pulled them.
Yes, but I'm just using that as like a point of reference.
Gotcha. Okay.
So with like Jeff Wilson and Jalen Wright's projection, I'm guessing on the back end we're still probably around that, maybe a little above. But if you were just have Achane not hurt, I would guess that they would spike.
Absolutely. With Mostert out,
yes.
Yeah, has to. I agree. So we'll get more clarity. We also have live before lock tonight as well. Is it you and me or you and Greg, or me and Greg?
It's you and Greg. There's college football, so I'm on projections for that.
All right. Yeah, check out the college football. Also, Matt, one other thing before we go. Both of us over on Tails by OddsShopper. If you guys are ever interested in checking this out, coming and hanging with us, they can find you over there. You've got college football picks. I'm sure you'll have a ton of college basketball picks when that rolls around, and a great community over there. So they can find you, can find me over there as well. Man, we had an awesome week last week. Had a lot of long shots. The community's growing, and I'm sure you're seeing this too. Like you can see it in the chat where there's new people coming in and you start to grow it. We just started this a couple weeks ago. So go over there if you want OddsShopper. Just go to oddshopper.com. You'll see Tails. You can discover all new insiders. I got 50% off right now. It's less than $5 for your first week, $15 for the first month. NFL 24. You running any promos, or are you at full price right now?
I didn't know I could run promos.
You can run promos, and you should, because your picks are fantastic. But yeah, come say what's up in the Discord. Betting football, and for Matt, betting college football. And we love doing the DFS thing, but there's something about betting, especially when you're pulling, some very fun spots, that makes it that much better. So head over to oddshopper.com, say what's up in the Discord if you want to join us. You're getting in at a great price, and we're going to have an amazing season. But I appreciate you guys hanging out live before lock tonight. Do you have any NBA or NFL, college football shows on OddsShopper today?
Me and Ben just recorded our second episode of Betting You. There's a ton of, basically every single main game you could possibly want is over on OddsShopper, whether I'm betting you or just an individual VOD from me.
Perfect. Follow Matt _Gajewski, me at Laffy_D. Shout out to Jordan for producing this and staying calm and composed throughout the earthquake down there in Southern California. And we'll see you guys back here tonight for Live Before Lock. Peace.